So this is gonna be like an episode of MTV Cribs, only it's a tour of my brain, and my brain is just an issue of Weird New Jersey magazine. I bet everyone who's into spooky, scary shit has like a mental roster of all the things that enshrine their interest in the macabre. And I know that some of my earliest memories are of seeking out the things that made me feel unsettled and afraid. Like, for example, I had this Dark Crystal read-along adventure book and a record, and I used to put it on even though the voices of the Skeksis scared the shit out of me. So my interest in creepy shit is probably my most defining trait, and everyone knew this about me. Which is why, when my dad found this Weird New Jersey magazine thrown out in the trash at his apartment complex, he dug it out and he brought it to me. Now, this isn't the original dumpster issue that I was given. That one is lost to the sands of time. But my dad was a notorious garbage picker. Like, when I was a kid, he used to strap me on the back of his bicycle and I would hold all of his spoils while we would just drive around and go through everything. So I was already very familiar with the concept that one man's trash is another man's treasure. So there I am, having my scheduled visitation days at my dad's Marlboro-scented apartment, and he gives me this bizarre magazine that he found in the trash. And he tells me it has a bunch of scary stories in it. Scary stories about New Jersey. And I already love scary stories, but I couldn't remember ever reading any that took place where I lived. And I didn't recognize this face on the cover, because unfortunately, I was raised in a Point Pleasant family. But this is the first thing I saw, and it was scary. I mean, this bitch's face is like in agony or something. And according to my information, this issue, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. Don't knock nothing down, please. And according to my information, this issue is issue 12, by the way. It was published in May of 1999. So if that's right, then I would have been around 11 when my dad fished this out of the trash. So not a baby, but definitely young enough to get scarred by the story that I'm about to share with you. When you open this baby up, once you get past the mail portion, and this is like in every issue of Weird New Jersey, once you get past the mail, you arrive at Weird News. And here's me, sitting in my dad's apartment while he's off on his trucking route or God knows where. And I find this article, Embalmed Torso Found in Newark. And let me just read this to you. On January 30th, neighbors living on 3rd Street and 2nd Ave reported to police that a human torso was found in a vacant lot near the Newark subway system. Law enforcement officials were baffled as to how the torso ended up in the lot. Of course they were fucking baffled. What aren't they fucking baffled by? Don't even get me started. It was missing the head and arms and appeared to have been autopsied and embalmed. Officials ruled out homicide. How? And said the torso could have been there since January 25th. The torso was that of a white man, and a Y-shaped incision had been made on his chest. The chest cavity was also filled with cotton and other material. The organs were also missing. Homicide detective Vincent Vitiello suggested that the torso may have been an organ donor or could have been exhumed from a grave. Inquiries to local medical institutions said there were no human remains missing from schools. In a similar discovery, Newark police were called to the New Jersey Transit Railroad tracks on January 21st, after an inspector found a bag of human bones that had been left on the right-of-way. In this case, the bones were believed to be over 100 years old. I could fucking picture that, somebody calling up and be like, there's bones on the right-of-way! Clear them out before the trains start getting. The trains are gonna be late. Whatever. Alright. Now, the story is still disturbing. But as a kid, this one had me bugging. Cause like, what the fuck, right? I mean, you start off with this bizarre embalmed torso. And call me crazy, but there's something unnerving about a torso, am I right? I mean, just headless, limbless, all identifying factors removed, but this anonymous hunk that's still unmistakably human, right? But then, you add in that it's been autopsied and embalmed. So what? Did a medical school lose track of a body or something? Like, how the fuck does that happen? And if that's the case, like... Hello? Girl, you okay? That wasn't creepy or nothing. We're fine. Everything's fine. Why would that be terrifying? But like, okay. Back to the idea that this body got stolen from a medical school, right? Like, how does that even happen? I mean, like, I used to steal books from the library, but, like, a human torso is a lot to fit in your backpack, you know? And what about this fucking guy, good old Vinny Vitiello, suggesting that an organ donor was exhumed from the grave by who? Now I'm just picturing this poor sucker who just got a heart transplant, and the ghost of his organ donor, like, super regretted checking the box on his driver's license, so he haunts the fuck out of this guy till he learned to start possessing him in his sleep, and then in some kind of fugue state, he dug up the body like he was gonna return the heart to its original owner. Okay, and then it gets weirder, because then you get to this last bit about fucking bones left on the railroad tracks. Like, what kind of curse you throwing on the Northeast Corridor line, baby? Are we looking at some kind of network of necromancers? I mean, we got one body that could definitely have been taken by grave robbing, and we got a bag of 100-year-old bones. And then in the next article over here, there's a story about somebody stealing a body from a cemetery in Elizabeth that's been buried since 1986. And, like, they took the body. Like, that's not grave robbing. First of all, imagine that grave robbers are gonna dig up fresher graves where you know, like, there's a chance you might know what kind of valuables are buried there already. But in 1999, like, somebody digging up a grave of somebody that's been buried for 13 years and taking the corpse? That's some necromancer shit. Now, I bet I would have loved Weird New Jersey no matter what my first issue had been. But the way these two stories had my gears spinning, it was like a religious experience for me. I mean, I loved this shit. And I remember how I pored over every article, how I took it to school with me, and I, like, told people stories out of it, like I was proselytizing the good word of Mark and Mark. And since the issues only come out every 6 months, for me that was like a lot of time to sit around and obsess over all these articles. And, like, I got to know this first magazine from cover to cover. It was just so cool to imagine that these were places that I could go to, that this was all happening, like, right around me all the time. It made New Jersey feel like this kind of eerie, strange, magical place full of abandoned mansions and discarded bodies, where every road has a ghost story and the urban legends all have a mind of their own. And you may be wondering, like, what inspired this trip down memory lane? Well, two things. One, I just found out that a Weird New Jersey TV series has been optioned, and I'm more excited than the Jersey Devil and Heat over it. Apparently it's going to be a scripted horror comedy series that's pitched as It's Always Sunny meets Stranger Things. And it's about an estranged family that's forced by destiny to protect New Jersey from evil. And it's going to feature a bunch of Weird New Jersey legends and heroes, so that's probably going to be my favorite thing that's ever been created in the history of everything. But also, in light of some more exciting news that's more personal in nature, and this is news that I can't share yet, but it's got me thinking, like, about my own writing and the things that have inspired me. And I realized that everything that I write takes place in the Weird New Jersey universe. And it's because of this magazine right here. This concept that New Jersey was full of ghosts and high strangeness, that there are liminal spaces tucked between suburban houses, that right in the middle of the most densely populated state in America, there's an empty asylum and decaying mansions and wooded roads crawling with ghosts. It left an indelible mark on how I see my home state, and that's the lens that I write from today. The New Jersey in my stories is the New Jersey of my childhood. The New Jersey formed by adventures in the woods talking to ghosts by lantern light, by seeing the face of Bloody Mary on a dark TV screen in the middle of a slumber party, by visiting the site of the John List house with my friends, and whispering about an entire family murdered and laid out on the dining table for days on end. It's the feeling I get when I'd open a brand new issue of Weird New Jersey. Even before I was old enough to travel the state in search of abandoned places and haunted roads, it was this feeling of strange possibilities constantly on the horizon. And I know I'm not the only New Jersey native whose home state is a constant influence on their art. There's evidence of that right here in my favorite ad in this particular issue. Just gotta find it now. You know, I don't have any post-it notes, so I was gonna put post-it notes so I can find these pages easier. I don't have fucking post-it notes. I am very unprofessional. Alright, but we found it. It's my favorite ad in this particular issue for alternative cinema video shelf. Part of me really misses, like, sending away for things. You guys remember that? I used to send away for all kinds of shit. I used to get my sea monkeys in the mail from Tiger Beat magazine. Anyway, according to this ad, you can send check or money order for the following films that were filmed in New Jersey. The Ironbound Vampire, filmed in 1997, 65 minutes, 1999, shot in Newark, New Jersey, home of the Torso. Two people who have apparently started an Ed Wood movie, Conrad Brooks and Dolores Fuller, on screen together for the first time since '53. This vampire epic focuses on World War I vampire hunting metropolis in Newark, New Jersey. And I need you all to know, I found a VHS copy of this for sale on eBay for $50. And if even one person tells me I should buy it and do a video about it, I'm gonna do it. So please, enable me. But the highlight is the second film listed in the ad. Now all it says here is Psycho Sisters, shot in New Jersey. VHS 1998, $29.99, 90 minutes. But I looked this movie up and the trailer is bananas. It's giving me I Spit on Your Grave vibes, but maybe like a little bit more like uncomfortably like porny. But the blood and the dialogue in the trailer is just and I can't play all of it, so here's just a quick highlight reel.
The Psycho Sisters, the girls next door, they had everything going for them. Loving parents, proper education.
Let him go, bitch.
You mean insane?
Well, I think if you consider what this murderer does to these unfortunate young people, it is somewhat insane.
You killed her!
Oh yeah, make it hurt, baby.
We're both in jeopardy over a fucking guy, and I'm not gonna stand it.
Where's Jackie?
She's upstairs. Todd.
Look everywhere!
Do I need to get this movie too? Should I like do a whole series on 90s movies advertised in the margins of Weird New Jersey magazine? And should I just do a series about my favorite Weird New Jersey articles and issues? I mean, I could talk about this magazine and all the adventures it's taken me on for hours. Oh, and by the way, for this video I also looked up that torso found in Newark. And I found one article from the New York Times about them finding the torso, but nothing else. So I have no idea if it was ever identified. But anyway, I'm real excited about the TV series, and you should be too. And I can't wait to tell you more about the stories that this magazine has inspired me to write. But that's all for today.